So Horacio had a good point. As soon as we do the countdown and it hits zero, we got to up the energy. It's got to be like Tony Robbins is getting ready to hit the stage. You know what I mean? Tom Ferry's in the back doing the jumps on the little trampoline. So
I like
as soon as we hit the zero, the party horn's gonna go off. Tuesday at 10 in the
Woo!
house. We got to do something. Got to hype it up.
I think I'm in the wrong room.
I know. Is your am I blowing out your headphones there? Probably. Anyway, good morning, guys. Thank y'all for taking time out of your busy schedules. Let's go ahead and jump in. What do we have going on? We have some wins. What's going on in y'all's world? What's going well? Tell us about it. Daniel, Josie, Horacio, go for it.
Oh, go for it, Horacio.
No wins yet, but staying busy, working with prospects and all that. So just any day now, any day, we're gonna definitely
Horacio,
get the
you
con.
have a win. You got a new agent
Oh yes,
today.
yes, yes. We have what's her name? Zulema, right? Hold on.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
Horacio's first
Yes,
agent.
Zulema. Yes, I've been speaking with her. Actually, I invited her to the meeting, but she already had something to do. But she'll definitely join us on Tuesday, next Tuesday. So huge win. Got a new member
Ooh.
to the team, and she seems like she's gonna be doing a great job. So
Awesome.
excited
Congratulations.
about that. Excited about that. Yeah.
Well, hey, and just the fact that you have prospects that are in the works, that's a win too. That's a win.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you have the conversations going, and just like you said, any day now. That's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing about real estate is you never know what the next day is going to hold. You never know if that phone's going to ring, if you're going to make contact with that person, if someone's going to finally make up their mind and want to make a
Right.
move. So
Exactly. Exactly. So.
your day can change from one hour to the next, sometimes even faster than that. It's funny. We were at Barbacoa Sunday with Josie and her family on this past Sunday, and
Uh-huh.
Josie's mom said, "Well, what do y'all have going on today?" And it's like we don't know yet. Anything can happen. We might end up in Brownsville. I might end up in McAllen later. We don't know where we're gonna go. If the phone rings and if opportunity is there, we're gonna go. So you
Absolutely.
never
Yeah.
know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. Daniel, what's going on with you? I know there's a little bit of stress going on in your world. Tell us about it. Maybe we can brainstorm a little bit. Let us know. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. I have a closing coming on Thursday, so
All
looking forward to
right.
that. But yeah, one of my deals that I'm working, the appraisal came in 22,000 under, and I'm representing the buyer. So, and the seller doesn't want to budge as of yet. So, um, I still haven't found out if my clients would even consider coming up with the rest in cash. Kind of trying to stall on that conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's part of the business. This is my least favorite part of the business, but it's a necessary part. And these are the big phone calls you have to make. But it's just part of the journey, you know. But it's this is one of those. If we were a heart surgeon, there's blood spewing out of that heart right now, and I got to figure it out
Yeah.
before it's too late. So,
How
and it
many days has
might already be too late.
how many
But
days has the house been on the market?
it was on for I want to say like 100 days or 110 days, but we've been under contract for 20 23 days or something like that
And the
already.
owner doesn't want to budge at all?
No, because they have a previous appraisal that they had done
Mm,
independently.
gotcha.
Um, and they're leaning on that, even though those comps are old now and they're far away, over a mile and a quarter away, some of them. So it doesn't really hold much water, but in
Yeah.
their eyes, that's their holy grail that they're sticking to.
Mm, yeah.
So we're a little confused on what the next step is, but trying to think it through. So if y'all have any ideas, open to suggestion.
Yeah, so I know it's always a hard conversation, but just like you were talking about, I see it more and more. In this kind of market, we have to have hard conversations. We have to have hard conversations with buyers, with sellers, even when it comes to being realistic with price. But that's what our job is, and just like you mentioned, Daniel, about the heart surgeon, there are medical professionals that have to stand in front of people and tell them, hey, either you or someone that you love is very ill and they might not make it. You know what I mean? If those professionals can have those type of conversations, this is real estate. It's not life and death. It is a very important thing, but it's not something that, is going to hinder somebody's life and, their I mean, it'll hinder their life, but it's not life or death, so I
It's
always think
hindering
about,
my life.
well, it's your life too. Yeah, I understand that. But I think about it, they talk about the difference between cows and buffalo. I always bring that up. It's like be the buffalo, right? And the
Yeah.
difference between a cow and a buffalo is whenever there's a rain cloud coming over the plains, just imagine a rain cloud coming, the cows are going to try to get away from the rain. And the more they try to get away from the rain, the more the rain's just going to follow them. And it's going to follow them all the way because they keep trying to get away from it. Whereas the buffalo charges right into that storm. And the faster that they charge into that storm, the faster they're going to come out on the other side. So, I had this conversation with Daniel yesterday. The sooner you can have these conversations and the more upfront and honest you can be, in my opinion, that's
Yeah.
always going to be the best option because our job is to be honest and upfront and frank with our clients. So, you know, if there's discrepancies in the appraisal, if there's anything that's going on, get the buyer on the phone with the lender, get the buyer on the phone with yourself, and try to figure it out instead of stalling, stalling, stalling. I'm in this situation right now. We have a lot of listings, and I have to have those conversations with the sellers, and I have to tell them we've been on the market X number of days. Some of them have been close to 60 days. Some of those listings we have had zero showings. Zero.
Yep.
Not one inquiry, not anything. So those are hard conversations, but we have to have them. I feel like that's why we're compensated the way we are. That's why people trust us. So I would try to attack it head
Uh,
on. And hey, if it doesn't work, it's not going to work.
yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. A seller, if they want to hold the line, they're going to hold the line. If the buyer wants to hold the line, they're going to hold the line. Our job is just to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation
I
is
agree.
is just to be upfront. What do you think, Horacio?
I think the same thing. I mean, just as soon as you can actually speak to the client, especially with something like this, it's out of your hands. It's not like something that you had influenced on. So but I know, it's like you said, it also affects you as a realtor, as an agent. You're counting on that commission and this and that, which I get, but it's just part of the business, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, again, it's also your client needs to, I wonder if the appraisal went down because of the way the market is right now. What do you guys think?
I'm sure that had a lot to
Had
do
an
with it.
influence. Yeah.
Daniel and the lender were talking about it earlier, and that appraisal was done over 6 months ago.
Well,
Yeah.
it's also a new construction, so they probably ran it at a time when they were building and supplies and everything came into to play as well. And
Yeah.
then, over 100 days, the market shifted,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
you know.
For sure. And, like the lender had pointed out to Daniel, some of these comps that they were using for that appraisal were over a mile away. They're not in the immediate market.
Mhm.
They're not new construction. There's just a lot of variables. And not to mention, it brings up the point of the simple fact that the seller paid for this appraisal, which automatically makes it a biased appraisal. You know,
Yeah.
I was reading an article earlier today, and it was so funny that I was reading it because we're facing this issue right now. but it was a listing agent, and the seller said, "Well, I think I should get an appraisal." The listing agent said, "I don't think you should order an appraisal. I'm going to run you a broker price opinion. I'm going to run you a CMA. I'm going to run you all these reports. All you're going to do if you order an appraisal is you're going to pay money that you don't need to pay, because the honest truth is the only appraisal that matters is the one that the lender orders.
Right.
That's the only appraisal that matters."
Right.
And there's both ways to see it. I read in that article, a gentleman was saying a seller ordered an appraisal. The appraisal came in at 609,000. Guess what the lender's appraisal came in at? 675,000. So,
Oh,
you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
seller shot themselves in the foot by ordering an appraisal, because appraisers are just people like us. Sometimes they have good days, sometimes they have bad days. And the appraiser goes in, "Oh, it's worth 609." And here comes the lender's appraisal. "No, I think it's worth 675." Now the buyer's walking into $65,000 worth of equity, and who's the one kicking themselves?
yep.
The seller.
So
Because
what
the
I'm
only appraisal that matters is the one that the lender orders.
so what I'm hearing is Daniel needs to order some Tiff's treats, send it to the appraiser,
Appraiser.
and have him redo it again for higher value. Even though we don't want the buyer to pay a higher value, but in this case, the seller ain't willing to budge. And, so we just got to butter them up to make sure they have a good day. That's what I'm hearing.
Hey, Tiff's treats go a long way. You can
They
lift
really
someone's
do.
spirits right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially the snickerdoodles on point. Yeah. But that's one thing I'm really trying to play a real fine dance with is, I don't want to jump to the gun and figure out ways to lift the value and appeal the appraisal and provide all these comps. It's like, well, whose side are you on, Daniel? You know? So I'm really trying to, represent my buyer, my client, and take care of their interests, but at the same time, so that's what I've been discussing with the lender is the best way to handle it. So we're getting there. I'm gonna make that call this morning to see what the best plan of action is, but it's definitely a hairy one for sure.
So one thing that I think about in a situation like this is, of course, our duty is to try to get our client the best deal. However, our duty is also to get our client the house that they want.
Yep.
Now, if the seller refuses to budge and the buyer refuses to pay the difference, then who wins in that situation? Nobody does. So I understand what you're saying about trying to play the fine line, but at the same time, you have to think about, if the appraisal came in at value, everybody would be happy. The buyer would be happy, seller would be happy, everyone would be moving forward, lender would be happy, the deal's going to close. So it's just a question of trying to figure out how it can be a win-win for everybody, the buyer included. Because really, if you're looking at a difference of $20,000 in a sales price, that's only going to affect the monthly payment about $120 a month. So the question really lies, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, is it worth you losing this house? If the appraisal comes up, is it worth you losing the house for $100 to $120 a month? I think most people would say, no, it's not worth losing the house over that. If the appraisal can be raised a little bit, even if it comes up 10,000, 15,000, 8,000. We were looking at the discrepancies in that appraisal. There was even a square footage discrepancy. If that square footage discrepancy is handled, that's going to up the value 8,000. So now you're at a delta of, whatever, 12,000, 14,000 instead of 22,000. That's a lot better. That's a lot easier to stomach, so I think there's just some and the problem arose or is there because of this biased appraisal that the seller's really heavily leaning on, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's definite hair on it for sure. There's no way around that. But I think,
Yeah.
I think, I think you'll come to a happy medium, and hopefully everything can be resolved.
Have you spoken to the listing agent? I'm
We've
sure they have
we've
the
emailed, but I've been creating my checklist on what I'm gonna discuss with her, precisely. But I'm gonna call her right after this call.
Yeah, a lot of the times, I mean, at least for me in my experience, I haven't had this situation like that, but when we have had hiccups and all that, that's the first one I call. And I
Oh
say,
yeah.
"Hey, you and I want the same thing. How are we going to get there?" Obviously, and figure out, kind of brainstorm together. And I mean, and you'll know exactly who's willing to work and who's just doesn't, they don't even care about the deal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So sometimes that really helps. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
That's
So
a good
so yesterday,
recommendation.
yesterday we submitted the amendment that reflected the appraised value to
Okay.
change the sales price to that. And right away she wrote back like, that's not happening. So
Um,
I already know she has a wall. She has a
that
big wall.
makes it difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out my ammo that I'm gonna go with. And so like Leon, our lender, he's just like, you need to ask her for her latest, relevant 2 to 3 comps over the past 6 months. What happened over a year ago doesn't count.
Right.
So, and if she starts balking at that, then that's ammo right there for her to let her seller know, hey, I know we had this appraisal done, but it's just not that relevant anymore.
And then
And
she didn't probably provide any comps when she approached the seller as a listing price. They're probably just like,
yeah,
oh, 265, great, here it is. And then
yeah,
they took the opinion of an appraiser without running comps in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the problem is there are no comps. There are
Yeah.
no real comps, and that's what makes this really shitty. Is it's a new build amongst homes that are 80 years old, like
Yeah,
it's
that's
there's just no, it's a unicorn. So I I I agree with them getting an appraiser actually, because I think that's the only way to do it in that situation. But like Alan said, appraisers are all, you could have 5 appraisers and they're all going to have 5 different results more than likely. So
Hmm.
and you
But
know
the
what?
appraiser is also supposed to rely on the comps too.
yeah, and that's why they're
Yeah.
going so far out and
Hmm.
so,
They're
you know,
trying to make it work
so
as much as they
old.
can.
And there were like
From
major
2020
there
and
were major adjustments on the comps, like, so it's a bullshit appraisal is what it was, the first one. But they did what they could.
Well,
It's not a
you,
great appraisal. It's
you,
not a
you
great.
have you have to. So it goes back to the very definition of an unbiased appraisal. If you have a seller and the seller calls an appraiser, the appraiser knows this seller's trying to make as much money as possible. What do I need to do to give them a number that they're going to be very happy with? You know what I mean? That's a biased appraisal. If you have a buyer who says, well, I'm going to order an appraisal because I need to show that the value's lower, that appraiser is, you know, tied to that buyer because the buyer is the paying customer.
Yeah.
So that appraiser needs to move things around to make the buyer happy because they're the paying customer. That's what, a biased appraisal. That's exactly what it is. Mr. Seller, how much do you want to sell it for? What's the answer 100% of the time? As much as I can.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me get started. So here they go, reaching for whatever they can to get them the highest dollar possible. So, you have an unbiased appraisal that comes in when the lender assigns that appraisal. That lender, who do they work for? They work for the lender. But that's why they put it out to these appraisal management companies, and it can't be anyone that's, personally recommended. Like it has to be as somewhat neutral as possible
Mhm.
to really get an opinion. And that's the other thing. An appraisal is still an opinion of value. It's always an opinion. So I
That
think
actually might be a great idea.
what
Get
was
someone.
that?
I said that actually might be a great idea. I mean, unfortunately, the buyer in this case, I don't know who would have to pay for it. I mean, I'm assuming the buyer, but getting on the phone with the agent and say, hey, let's find an appraiser that you guys are happy with and that we're happy with, someone neutral, and see where that comes in. But also, I've noticed here in Brownsville, a lot of contractors, especially with new constructions, they still want to have that profit margin where when the market was high, when it was a seller's market, and they want to profit, the 40, the 50,000, and it's not there right now. So I had one situation where the guy didn't want to budge, and I told the agent, I said, hey, don't expect your client to be profiting what he was making 6 to 8 months ago. It's like he has to drop down. He has to be realistic with where the market's at right now. But also, second thing, Daniel, maybe this is a blessing in disguise because you said that it's a new construction around 80 homes, right? Like the 1980 homes and things like that.
No, 80-year-old homes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
80 homes. So if your client buys and if they for whatever reason decide to sell, then they won't get what they paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be something where, hey, you know what? Maybe I mean again, it's unfortunately it's still gonna affect this transaction, but that might be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we need to keep shopping, we will. I'm not sure if they'd still have the stamina to keep looking. We've already seen so many
Yeah,
homes. But if they want to keep looking, I'll be there to help them. So
For sure. For sure. Well, what else y'all have going on? Josie, what's going on in your neck of the woods? I know Josie has some active clients. She has some clients that are still kind of riding that fence, on the fence. If they're going to do something, if they're not going to do something, but they're still in the mix, which is good, right? Horacio, keep those clients in the
absolutely.
mix, man.
Absolutely.
What's going on with you, Josie? What's the latest?
No, nothing. You kind of just hit the nail on the head. I have some people coming in for Labor Day weekend to look at some houses and make their final decision on a couple of them. So that should be good. Getting the getting the family involved, but yeah, no, still trucking along, just doing lead check-in and making sure those are all going good, making sure those are still in the pipeline, and those are being communicated to. So just all of that good stuff. But yeah, ready to dive into what you have today.
Well, good. Well, yeah, that's a good segue. So I just have a little couple slides that I wanted to share. Josie's talking about lead follow up and, keeping everyone in communication, keeping everyone in tune with what's going on with us. The way that I always think about it is getting these people, and I've taken a new approach over these past few months, and you think about getting these people into your ecosystem. We want people that are going to be in our group, that are going to be in our list, for lack of a better word. And what do we need to do to stay in touch with these people? One thing that Daniel and I really learned, we hosted a lunch and learn in San Antonio, and Tracy Gagnon, who is one of EXP's finest attractors, she was a broker owner. She owned franchises for Century 21 and super accomplished realtor. She was a special guest at our lunch and learn. And the first thing that she looked at, she went to our check-in table and she said, "Oh no, this sign-in sheet is not going to work. This is guaranteed to become disorganized, and you're not going to be able to read it. You're not going to be able to get in." She said the most important piece of these lunch and learns and these events is to have the people come, have them register, and now you're able to stay in touch with them. So it was ever since then I really started paying attention. And then other trainings that I was going to, it was all about building your list, building your database, and staying in touch with them. So with that, I have a crazy crazy stat here that I ran across yesterday, and I wanted to share it with everyone here. So let me go ahead and I'm going to present and I'm going to share my screen. Hold on one second. Here we go. I'm going to present and I'm going to share my screen. Y'all let me know if y'all can see my screen. Here we go. I'm going to share this one. All right, y'all see my little buddy here, the koala?
Yep.
So this is Carl the koala. No, I don't know. I just named him right now. But anyway, here's the shocking stat. 80% of agents aren't sending consistent email campaigns to their database. And we think about it all the time. There are a lot of agents around us. There are a lot of agents in our marketplace. There are a lot of agents that we're networking with, and actually, a lot of agents, we're in competition with them. We want to be in front of people. We want to win those listings. We want to win those buyers. We want to show our value. Meanwhile, 80% of agents are not sending consistent email campaigns to their database, and that's a big problem. So we're talking about BAM Media, which is one of the, they used to be called Broke Agent and all this other kind of stuff. I love to follow their stuff. They have a lot of good entertainment and education and statistics. And they took this survey. 84% of agents, they say that lead gen is the number one priority. We talk to agents all the time and they say, we need leads. We need leads. How do I get more leads? In so many instances, the number of leads is not the problem. It's the leads that are falling out. It's the leads that we're losing contact with. It's the leads that they fall through the cracks. But here's surprising. Over 80% of agents aren't consistently sending emails, which is arguably the easiest, most cost-effective way to generate or reactivate leads. That gap could be a $100,000 mistake. And that really hit home with me when we're talking about not only our business, but we're talking about any kind of sales business, any kind of business where you have to generate your own business. Your list is everything. And that's one thing that Tracy told us, and she really stressed. She said, guys, we're in real estate, we're doing real estate now, but what if another venture comes along? What if we want to be a representative for another product or another company or another whatever it is? We need to be able to tap into the people that we know. Tap into our list. Our list is everything. Have y'all ever seen the movie Shameless or the show Shameless on Showtime? Have y'all seen it? Okay, on Shameless, Fiona, one of the main characters, she wants to be a club promoter. So she says, well, what do I need to do to be a promoter for Friday night? And they said, well, you need to bring people through the door. And she said, well, how am I going to do that? They said, well, go talk to the promoters that are working Friday, Saturday night and see what they're doing. So she goes into the club, and the guy who's one of the big promoters for Friday and Saturday night is sitting at this booth around all these people, pretty girls and guys, and Fiona's there, and she says, hey, what do I need to do to get a copy of your list, your email list? Because that's where the gold lies. The person who has the biggest list and the person who's the best marketer wins. So, I thought that was a cool piece of that puzzle. She needs to get people through the door. She needs a big email list. We want to get people calling us on the phone for real estate. We need a big email list. We want to attract agents and be in touch with them and deliver value. We need an email list. Here's the other true, very, very true thing. We love Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and X and everything like that. What happens if those platforms go down? How are we going to communicate with our people? And email is the only way to be able to do that. So they took that survey. Here's how over 700 agents answered. They're reaching out weekly, less than 12%. Twice a month, less than 8%. Once a month, less than 30%. And occasionally, 25.91%. 27.8% don't send emails at all. And guys, you know what? I'm guilty of this. Daniel and I were in real estate for years, and we didn't do email campaigns. We didn't do, this is a recent development for me. And Josie's helping me a lot organizing all this. And that's why I'm trying to share the information, because I'm starting to see the communication. We're starting to see the engagement increase. We had an out of town buyer who reached out to me, and I even told Josie, I said, man, I haven't heard from this guy in months. And Josie, Josie told me, he sees your emails. He opens your emails every single time you send one. And I said, just that in itself is going to be worth $15,000. That one contact that saw my email and they're seeing my weekly emails. It's super, super, super important. And that's why they talk about here, it could cost you 100,000. You turn your database into deals, because unlike social media or video, it doesn't depend on algorithms. I just saw right now that Instagram changed their algorithm, and now the talking videos where you're just talking to a camera, the engagement on those has plummeted because Instagram changed their algorithm. Josie's fallen victim to that too. She posts content. She said, no one's seeing my stuff because the algorithm changes. Email doesn't depend on that. Plus, it doesn't drain your budget. You know, you don't have to be doing the Google marketing, the Facebook marketing. That can get very, very expensive very fast. Email goes directly to your client's inbox. It builds trust, and study after study confirms it delivers the highest return on investment of any marketing. So how often are you sending a newsletter campaign to your database? Now, there's a lot more training involved in what to put in your newsletter, and we'll touch on that in another session. But when it comes to newsletter, it's all about being personal, being genuine, delivering value, and the number one thing is just staying top of mind, staying in front of people, delivering that value, and being the expert that they are going to remember. You know, I'm on email lists for guys like Ed Milet and Jesse Itzler and, you know, all this other kind of stuff. Do I open the email all the time? I don't. But I see them over and over and over. And guess what? If Jesse Itzler ever came to the Rio Grande Valley or ever came to San Antonio, I would buy a ticket to go see him speak again. I would buy a ticket to go see Ed Milet speak. If he's anywhere close, I'm going, because I admire these guys and I love the value that they provide. So, you know, if we're looking at a commission being anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 to 12,000, just think about if we're losing out on 5 or 6 of these contacts per year, that's $100,000 that we're missing. It adds up very quickly. So just wanted to go over that, wanted to share this stat. I thought it was super important, and I thought it was very eye-opening. You know, we have the capability to be ahead of so many realtors out there by just doing the basics. But the truth is, it's simple, but it's not easy. It's a simple thing to do, but you have to do it. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the slight edge. That's the difference.
Yeah, so number one, Josie, I have to thank you for, you know, spearheading Alan and I and our campaigns and stuff. Thank you very much for that. And they look awesome, by the way. And I love opening them and reading them, and I'm like, damn, this is badass.
Even Daniel's impressed with
Yeah,
our email.
I am. I'm like, oh shit, that's happening with me. Great. No, I'm just kidding. But no, what I'm getting at is it would be great to have, like, you know, one of these Tuesday at 10s where, and I know what you're doing is a little more advanced, but maybe an abridged version of, you know, something Horacio and his wife can start putting together once they have. And Horacio, even if your list is only 20 emails right now, or 80 emails, or 15 emails, or 180 emails, however many you have, you know, I think Alan's point hit home. You just got to start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Just start. Even if it's 5 emails. find your past clients, your friends and family if you have their emails. But what I'm saying is Josie can, maybe give us a quick lesson on how to even set up a mass email. Something so simple as that. Or how to embed something that shows up and, when everyone clicks a certain link and it, pops up.
Great,
So we'd appreciate that, Josie, if
great idea.
you put
Yes.
something together on that.
And it's something that I think a lot of people kind of think about is like, well, what emails should I put in it? Or it's like, are these people that I have directly contacted or whatever? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There are some times that I'm on these email threads and somebody who doesn't know how to blind copy the list. So they send the list to everybody and you can see everybody's email that they've sent it to. I copy every single one of those email addresses and I put them in there because, I may have not made direct contact with them, but it's an email. And if they want to unsubscribe, they can unsubscribe and that's fine. If what we offer is not what they're looking for, that's fine. They may know somebody who's looking for real estate, or they may be thinking about it. But either way, some people just get they get a little bit more focused on, did I have contact with this person? Did I speak to this person? And at the end of the day, like, who cares? It's an email, put it in your database. They can unsubscribe if they want to unsubscribe. They can never open it, but it's an email. It's an email address. So we're always looking for that. Like people who are on Facebook and you see posts and people are like, drop your email if you want this. Like I'm going in and I'm copying every single email that people put, it just added to the list. And, we're at about 2,300 right now. And,
Nice.
they're not all people we have directly contacted, but you always have to make sure that you're not in violation of the Spam Can Act, and you have to have an opt-out link at the bottom. You have to give people a way to opt out of your newsletter if you want. And we can go into that too. And we make sure that we have one there and we're not violating anything.
And here's the good thing is we're not selling anything. I'm not trying to sell you a product. I'm not trying to sell you a bundle of something. We're just trying to give information. We're trying to provide value. We want to stay in touch with them. And really, we want people to get to know us. We want people, and that's why I love sharing these emails and I embed the videos, and I want people to look at our YouTube channel. And it goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago. We want people to just start consuming our content. And the more that they see us, the more that we're going to be top of mind. I talk to Josie all the time, Horacio, you know this. There's an attorney, and he's one of the best marketers I've ever seen in my life. And his name is Kenny Perez.
Mm.
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
But I see him everywhere. This guy is so gutsy, he takes out billboards that just say Kenny Perez Law. No phone number, no email, no website, no nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's the impression.
Mm-hmm.
It's the impression. The impression matters. I've done a lot of research. You watch Formula One and you see the Formula One race, and what do you see? Fly Emirates, fly Emirates, fly Emirates, nonstop on the racetrack. Fly Emirates. What else do you see? Rolex, 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 nonstop. Are they advertising any products? No. It's impressions. It's name recognition. It's top of mind. It's getting into your subconscious.
Yeah.
That's what marketing is. So the more they see it, the more you email, the more you stay in touch with them. And you might not see the fruits of that for 6 months or a year and a half or 2 years. But sometime down the road, that person that you're emailing, that maybe they didn't even open up your email, but they saw Alan Lozano Property Hermanos Group, maybe they run across someone who needs to buy or sell, and they're going to remember you. It's the impression. The
And you know what's
impression is
cool for
everything.
you? What's cool for you, Horacio, is you have a cool last name. That's a unique last name, and I think that that's always important. Exploit that. Everyone needs to know Gumble, 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 Gumble. Like they're seeing it everywhere. It makes you look again and say, "Oh, that's that's a unique, that's a nice name." So use that to your advantage. And you already have great branding, so it's just a matter of throwing it out there constantly.
Right, right. Okay.
Just make it
And
work for
and
you in your sleep.
and one thing that I do, I'm not so great at getting in front of the camera as much. I do from time to time. I need to do more of it. But one thing that I tell agents all the time is just go to a home that's for sale. Okay? Get in the front, shoot a 6-second video. Go in the kitchen, shoot a beautiful kitchen. This is Horacio. Give me a call. This home is 2,000 square feet. It's ready for you. My wife and I are ready to help you guys. Y'all call me at any time.
Mhm.
Boom. That's it. That video was 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And just put it on your Instagram, put it on your Facebook, put it on your TikTok, whatever you have going. Because I think that what's really important is people just need to see that you're in the business. You're working it. They don't know that you didn't have a client there, and you might have a client there.
Yeah.
I try to do those any times I have a client, but even if I don't have a client, I'll do one anyway. If I see a for sale sign, I'll stop real quick. That's a cute home. Let me just do it real quick. Because you need to have the impressions, like Alan was saying. People need to just see you showing homes. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Confidently, and that's free.
Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So with that, I know it's already, we've had a great discussion this morning. Does anyone else have anything to add or anything else in closing? Um, y'all go for it. Any last remarks? Good stuff?
I'll
Good
keep y'all
stuff.
posted how the the
Yeah, good luck,
appraisal.
man. Good
Okay,
Thank
luck.
you.
cool. One thing that I'm doing, and y'all let all the other agents know that y'all have in y'all's little groups. We are starting a WhatsApp chat. Okay, so one thing that I want to do is I want everyone to have a centralized communication system. We do have the La Familia group on Facebook, but I know sometimes you're not online or you might not have access to your computer or something like that. So we did start a La Familia WhatsApp group. We're going to be posting announcements. We'll post reminders about different trainings or meetups or lunch and learns or anything that we have going on. And then we're also going to put, let's share some wins. I want to see you guys out at some properties. I want to see when y'all are at family functions. Let's have fun with it. So I'm going to post the link in the replay. I'm going to post the link for everyone to join the WhatsApp group, share it with your agents, and we want to keep it to our group and stuff like that. That way we can start sharing information
Perfect.
and and even I had one of our agents yesterday. She was having problems with a contract. Of course y'all can always reach out to us via text or whatever, but put it out in the group. Maybe Horacio or someone like Joe or Armando or Josh or someone, maybe they can chime in and help. If for whatever reason Josie or Daniel or myself or Horacio, if we're tied up or something like that, let's help each other. It's agents helping agents. So join the WhatsApp group and we'll be able to stay in touch. I'm going to post the link in the replay
Love it.
comments. Okay.
And I'll also be joining y'all hopefully sometime in the near future for that lunch and learn in San Antonio. I'm
Cool.
excited
Yeah,
about
come anytime. We have our next one on September 5th. And then I'll post all the info for our ones
it.
coming up October, November, December. So
Awesome.
we're gonna finish out the year strong, and the venue is awesome. So you'll enjoy it, and we'll
So
make a weekend
excited.
of it, Horacio, and we'll go have a good time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thank
I
y'all for
wanna, I
tuning in.
wanna, I wanna end with my weekly dad joke.
Okay.
That's okay.
Let's do it.
Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Oh my God.
Why?
In case they get a hole in one.
Oh no.
I have one that my kids tell me all the time. Why do ducks have tail feathers?
Why?
To cover their butt quack.
Oh my.
Oh.
All right, all right, all right.
I
Okay,
love
well,
Oh my God. Get me out of here.
okay, real quick, I'm gonna take a photo of everyone here on the meeting. So y'all fix your shirt, fix your hat, fix your hair, give a thumbs up. Here we go. Ready? One. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Got it. All right, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll be posting the replay in the Familia group and join the WhatsApp group and have a good rest of your week and go out and sell some stuff and let's get some deals going. Cool?
All
Thank
right,
you,
Good night,
sir.
guys.
Daniel.
Y'all later. Y'all take
All
it
right.
easy.
Thank y'all.